They're good.
I love
We used to have them on the menu at the restaurant.
I use a lot of oil.
Yeah, we just did them in the deep fryer and then
Yeah.
tossed them with the sitar.
Do you get them with the country? I make them spaghetti.
What do you do, fry in the pan?
Fry them in a pan, put oil, sometimes a little butter, but you know, I can burn that. But then I put like paprika on there, I put salt, just truffle salt, a little garlic powder, a little onion powder, let them get a little crispy.
I like a little snack.
They're so delicious.
Yeah.
Like chickpeas, like chickpea soup, I hate, but fried chickpeas.
No issues today.
Thank you, thank you. Thank you. It's good to see you. Oh, thank you. A gentleman, he's pulling out my chair for me.
Yeah.
Oops. Oh, and pushing me in. So you,
No, that's not it.
oops, wait a minute.
Right. Maturicus isn't here to torture you.
You will be calling in. You love the song? No.
Thank you for choosing free conference.
Okay.
Okay, I'll start it up. Look at that.
Please announce yourself.
Matt McGarrett. Jim or Mike or somebody.
Hi, Mike.
Sure.
Hi, Matt.
Sorry, back around.
Hey, Jim. Shane, money break.
Gee, there's not gonna be anybody here to harass me tonight.
Lucky John died.
Watch yourself. I'm here.
She did. She did.
They need to pick up.
Yeah.
You can understand.
Yeah.
I don't know whose law is, that's someone's law.
Well, that's mine, I guess, isn't it?
Oh, yeah.
This is Ron Curtis, and Danny West.
They were pregnant, they right on the grass.
He's a good one to grab it for you.
Yeah. Try this thing out.
John McLaughlin, Director Sales, CNN.
Thanks, John.
Thank you for having us.
Jim Raymer is joining.
Hey, Jim.
Hey, Jim. Hi, Matt. How you doing?
Good.
Ron, Kurt is abstaining, but
Thank you, Ron.
Matt Little with CNN.
Hi, Matt. Thank you. Thanks for coming.
Aye.
All right, 7 o'clock, everyone. Call this meeting to order. All rise for the pledge, please. Pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America,
United States of America,
to the republic
for which it stands, one nation, under God,
under God,
indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
liberty and justice for all.
All right. Call the roll, please.
Yes, I will. John Cops, Matt Bulgara, CC Johnston,
Here.
John Leo,
Here.
and Mike Naturkis.
Here.
We do have a quorum.
Good. All right, first order of business is the minutes from the August 3rd meeting.
Make a motion to approve, I'd say they're all.
I'll second.
Very good. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Perfect. And then the minutes from our little closed session.
I'll make that motion.
Perfect. Second by Cups. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Aye. All right. The bill committee.
Make a motion to approve. Wishes.
Second by Leo. All in favor of paying the bills?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
All right. All right, citizens comment time. If you have something you'd like to address the council that's not on the agenda, this is your chance. Anyone in the room? Very good. Anyone on the phone for citizens comment? Perfect, thank you. Anyone on the YouTube, Andy?
Not right now.
All right. Moving right along. Head right into the city managers.
Just like to make one request, as last time we moved item E to the end of the meeting, the closed session, and we managed report, board commission report. All right. So the first item on the agenda is Little Traverse Light Tower reconditioning. Mr. Steve Arbaugh, he's not in today, couldn't make it today, but he came to the Harbor Commission meeting last Wednesday. He's a resident that lives on, I think it's Little Traverse Township on Pick Road. He's been trying to get the light tower on Harbor Point repainted. He's been contacting the U.S. Coast Guard, and trying to organize a group to, an initiative, an effort to repaint that or recondition that light tower. We don't know if the Coast Guard, or he doesn't know if the Coast Guard is going to have the money to do so. So all he's seeking is some sort of basically moral support or public support from first the Harbor Commission and then City Council, just to say that we support the his efforts to contact authorities, proper people to perhaps find funding to paint the tower or go a different direction for funding. So the Harbor Commission approved the motion you see up on the screen, except there said the Harbor Commission instead of the City Council. And they recommended that the City Council approve it. I don't think we're not obligating any money or anything like that. We're just showing our support for the effort that we want to see that be painted. And most of us didn't really know what it looks like that don't use the water, but those who use the water often really know what the condition it is in. And the Harbor Commission recommended we also goes to the Harbor Point Association, West Traverse Township, and others. So we wanted to first stop at the Harbor Commission since those are the users of water.
Yeah, I talked to Steve a couple weeks ago.
He's put in a significant amount of effort.
Yeah. That looks good. I mean, he used to be a real navigation point for the boaters in the area.
Yeah.
Looks bad now. So I'll make a motion that we support Mr. Arbaugh's efforts to get the tower repainted.
I'll second
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Type up a nice little letter for him. Ship that off.
Okay, great, thank you. The second item on the agenda is an update of the Shea vessel AHA. The Historical Society, Kristen Baylog, and others from the Historical Society are here to present. Just basically giving a status update on where those restoration efforts are at right now, and then also a little bit about where we could go with locating and making something more out of the Shea vessel than sitting at the DPW shop. So I know you all probably saw the I think 5 points or so that Kristen put together about the preservation, but she also provided a slideshow that we can run through as well. You want to start with the slideshow?
Yeah, I think that'd be great if you'll just go to the first page and I'll start there. So speaking of effort, back in, I think it was August, that the city came to the Historical Society and asked us to move the AHA, and we thank you for that nudge to bring this artifact to life for our community. In October, November, we came back to you and said, we have a plan, we're going to move it. And so I'm here today to give you an update on that. As a community asset, this artifact is particularly important as it represents one of several ways that Ephraim Shea influenced the Harbor Springs community. And as community representatives that you all are, we'd like your participation in what this can mean for our community. So what I'd like to do today is just to give you a brief history and a progress report of the preservation. I am accompanied by Tom Moran of Moran Iron Works, who is acting as our volunteer project manager. Behind him is Ashley. She has been the lead welder and student instructor on the AHA for us. I also have behind me the Historical Society Board President and our Vice President, Dave Lyle, and our board member, Matt Parmenter. On the phone, I have Ron Kurtz, who is chairing the committee. And I must say that it was through the efforts of Ron Kurtz that we have Shea Days, and he has led a lot of the passion for that. So I thank Ron. I thank all of you for, number one, saving it in 2003, and my whole committee for their passion in history, boating, Harbor Springs, and the AHA itself to get us to this point of progress. So with that said, you can go to the next slide. This is the AHA when it was under construction in 1891. Next slide. And this was where the construction was taking place in Ephraim Shea Boathouse, where he was working on it. If you look in the past, beyond the triple expansion engine that powered the vessel, you can see the City Hall, which is now the History Museum. And you'll notice that you can't see the Hexagon House because the AHA boat was actually built before the Hexagon House. So that to us just represents the importance. We see the Shea House and it's very visual to us, but this vessel actually even precedes what we now still hold near and dear, the Shea Hexagon House. Next slide. This is an article, this is an image of Ephraim enjoying the AHA in one of its many forms. This is the form prior to what we have been left with. So this was not perhaps his most successful feat, so he went back to the shop and reconfigured it to what you will see in a moment here, which is that vessel there that was left at Sucker Creek. So because the vessel landed itself at Sucker Creek, which is owned by Wilderness State Park, the Mackinac State Historic Park was left with the responsibility of getting it out of there. And they did pick it up and they displayed it in a maritime park up in Mackinac City, which was between the lighthouse and the fort, and it no longer exists. When the other maritime artifacts and everything started dilapidating in about the 90s, they moved it to Mill Creek Park, south of Mackinac City. And at that time, it was on display for a short while. The Mackinac State Historic Park decided to de-accession it from its collection, and that caught the attention of Bruce Gathman, who had taken over Virgil Haynes' photography studio. And Bruce connected this historic park with the Historical Society, and in 2003, we signed a deed of gift to take the responsibility and to take on the artifact. And thanks to Wallstrom and the free transportation and the city leadership at the time to give us the site at the DPW. So that's where this went. We go to the next photo. That's how it got there in the state that it sat for far too long, we realize. So in just a footnote too, Bruce was also in conjunction with Ron Kurtz. The two of them together is what formed Shea Days, which we are in our 21st year of celebrating that event at the Historical Society, which kind of brings to life Ephraim Shea and everything that he has influenced in our community. So the next slide takes you to the state that it was in on the interior. And you can see there that how the cement that is left, which was really large in part the reason that it started to dilapidate so quickly and rust. Next slide. And there it rests to its current day at the Industrial Arts Institute in Onaway. So at the time when the city asked what were we going to do with it, I had sent Moran Ironworks, actually I had sent a request for a grant, and I was contacted back about just the project in general, and we worked out an agreement with the Industrial Arts Institute. It was important to the Historical Society, and it fit the mission of Moran Ironworks Foundation, their community foundation, to bring the students aboard, which was something that we felt could be a great learning tool. And so this is currently where it is located. The next slides that you are going to see are going to be on the repairs and construction. So this is Ashley working with a student, and these are a few slides that you can start to begin to see the process. And Tom is here to answer any questions as we move past this point. The framing that is being done on the inside to create a base, and the ribs that have been reconstructed. And if you'll hold right there for a moment, this picture is particularly compelling because I don't know that any of us have seen the AHA with a propeller on it. And we're very grateful to, not only did we get a donation from the Rondell family in Harbor Springs, but Scheffler's donated that prop to us, which was a better scale. So we did end up using the Scheffler's prop. But again, just community support to get the boat to the place where it is right now, and the first time we've ever seen it with a prop on it. Let's see. Next slide, thank you. This just shows you some of the other items that we will be dealing with. So this would be where the windows were, And you can see the rotting of the ridging around top and the absence of the, what you would call the railing on the top deck also is missing. So there is a long way to go. There are decisions still to be made. When we get to the point of filling the windows, we're discussing filling them with plexiglass. We would like to allow for viewing on the inside. And you can also see the bullet holes. It did donate itself as a target practice when it was up in Sucker Creek. So the students are actually working with Ashley's training and guidance. And that's the students through the Industrial Arts Institute that are, are they 8-week cohorts? 19-week cohorts that are coming in, and we've now worked with 2 different cohorts that are learning the technique of pounding those bullet holes out. And there's a 1,000 or so. Yes, there's many. So definitely some good practice there. Next slide, Victor. Oh, next slide. And that just gives you a zoom in on the propeller, and you can see the work that has been done, the seaming and how the holes have been patched. This here is now standing back from it, the propeller. This is the current stage that it is in. This cradle and the materials for the cradle were designed and created by Tom Moran. The materials were donated by Scheffler's. And all in all, in the progress that you see here, we have about $10,000 invested, and we have an additional over $3,000 in in-kind donations. We are holding due to COVID. There hasn't been progress since the end of March, and we have a new cohort that is being trained. So that pause has kind of done us all some good and has given me a window to come here and visit where we are and where we would like to go. So in summary, for the Historical Society, our success criteria is to permanently preserve in the AHA and display it for public viewing. As a historical society, it is our responsibility that we hold these artifacts in trust for public use, and we would like to make this vessel useful to the public. And we'd also like to connect the history of the Hexagon House, the AHA, and Shea Park as part of that cultural quarter to include the Blackbird Museum, which we have had some initial conversations with the city about as well. All in all, the grand project is to create a historic complex, an educational site to explore Ephraim Shea, what he meant to Harbor Springs, and what occurred on the actual site, which we now call Shea Park. And you'll see Ephraim Shea Waterworks, the East Shea Waterworks, blacksmith shop, railroad engine house, machine shop, and houses on the next slide. And this slide will show you those, the auto houses are vertical along Judge Street there. If I can point, the auto houses are 1, 2, and 3. It would be expected that Ephraim Shea was probably the first one to own an automobile in our city, and not only one, he owned several. And this is the blacksmith shop, the engine house. The reservoir was no longer being used at this time. This map was from the Sanford Fire Insurance map, and the reservoir had already been moved up to the bluff. And his storage facilities and his machine shop. And you can see here that this was after 1892 because the Shea House existed and it wouldn't have been on the map. It wouldn't have been on the fire map if it hadn't existed. So this just gives you a little, it's 1912, it's right there in front of me. So this gives you a little history on what that site has been used for. And I've met with Denny to also discuss, pardon? Oh, okay. I met with Denny, our new head of Parks and Recreation, to discuss his goals with all of the parks and how, as a historical society, we can build on that and begin to use those as educational tools for our community. Next slide. So I came here today. I was hesitant to put all of this in your packet ahead of time, but I know preparation means a lot, and it's important to us to get feedback from all of you. And it's important for me to inform you that we're here to get feedback and not, I don't have all the answers. We haven't resolved everything. We're still meeting as a committee. We're still in progress. And getting your feedback now would be really beneficial to the project and to the community, and to allow the community at large to let this idea percolate with them, and to feel free to inform us of what their goals are for the community, what interests them, and if this idea that we are presenting to you visually resonates with the goals of the city of Harbor Springs. So with that said, I open it up for questions. Tom Moran is here to talk about structural questions, and I'm here to collect any concerns and feedback so that we can make good decisions for the whole.
Nice presentation.
Hats off to the kids and the people behind it.
Yes, they're great kids. We are, we have this all on video. We are recording this progress, and the cable channel has done a 3-part series on it, the local cable channel, and we will continue documenting this process for the Industrial Arts Institute as well as for our own archives.
I think it's great. I know that school over there's done a lot for a lot of people in Northern Michigan, so hats off to the brand. I think it's a great idea, great time.
Yeah, that looks good.
Concept of the park looks good.
I've shown several views here. If you can go ahead and click. This gives you an idea of the elevation. We are not looking to reconstruct the triple expansion engine. We can only do so much. We are not looking to float this vessel again, but we do hope to reconstruct it so that it is historically accurate. So the discussion currently is to put 3 pipes that would show the representation that that the exhausts were there, but we wouldn't expect to go full height. And so these are just different elevations and different views. The big picture for us in talking about the complex is to make note with storyboards throughout this park about the waterworks that Ephraim Shea designed and donated to this, or didn't donate, sold to the city of Harbor Springs. And to talk about the machine shop that existed there, and to talk about the Shea locomotive, which was built there. The storage facility there stored 3 Shea locomotives that ran the railroad that we know as Hemlock Central on the bluff right across the street here. And so the big picture for us isn't to just drop a vessel on park land. It's to tell the story of the whole site. And that is where I brought Jen into the conversation to talk as a liaison to what the goals were for the park, for the city. I think that this historical quarter can be a playful learning space, and it can inform people of a lot more than just the Shea house in the AHA, but it can talk about our maritime history.
Family questions, I think.
Did I miss anything? Okay.
So thank you, Kristen. And basically, as Kristen said, just coming here to present concepts. And of course, the idea is, if this idea is not, I guess, a turnoff to anyone, then I think it's something we can proceed with. I know, Jeff, we had to go through the planning process, well, because obviously we want to talk about screening and what kind of, location and all that, and all those good things, but I think, Denny, you were pretty
Yeah,
excited
just,
about it as well.
Being in Parks and Recreation, it's always a good day when you can merge history and recreation and try and get young people interested in it. And I just got 3 totally concepts just to run by you real quickly. And it has to do with the overall Shea Park and what to do with it. I mean, we have a lot of green spaces, and I think one of my objectives is to try and come up with a plan for our park totally. But one idea would be to take Shea Park and turn it into a historical park, where we may have a shelter in the middle, and around will be a trail, which would also circle right by the AHA, and there'd be other seasonal panels that people can view. The shelter could even be rentable for graduations or parties or family get-togethers. And I think that if it had a circular motion to it, and had a couple gardens, I think it'd be really good at encouraging people to get interested in history. A second idea I came up with was piggybacking on the waterworks. That Shea did a lot of work to a lot of the irrigation to get water to our businesses and homes. Wouldn't it be really cool if we had a splash pad there, where you had a fountain in the middle, a couple small ones, a cement barrier around it, where there'd be a couple educational panels, but it also would be like something, a destination where people would go to. So you got the AHA, you got a shelter, and you got a splash pad. And I think it would really tie it in. That's one possibility. Another one I thought of too is like, so you've got the AHA there, and there's a need from surveys and talking to people of a playground structure downtown. It might be an idea to put a shelter there in the middle of Shea Park and maybe have a playground there that's a boat thing, where people can get on the boat, climb the mast, kind of tie right back into the AHA and some of the history of our town. So those are just like 3 ideas to come up with, not just to use something, the whole park as a totality. And it would make a good history spot there, one-stop shopping where you can go around and make it interesting for people to live here and visit.
Sounds like fun. I'd go.
I think there's a lot of opportunities if we were to go the history route to get donations and grants, which would have to back up any of these plans.
So make a locomotive down there.
We talked about that, and of course, we always talk about the locomotives. So we look for locomotives probably once a week. We try to find a Shea locomotive. There's Cadillac. If anybody can get that one up here, we would make better use of it. But it is in Cadillac, unfortunately, right now. They are definitely hard to come by, and they usually don't work. There's one out in Colorado is the last one I've known that you can actually go for a ride on. Mary went on that a couple of years ago. But yes, I mean, the idea is to create that historical corridor and a destination. If the ferry boat succeeds across the way, then you have a gathering meet here before we all hop on the ferry. Or we're taking the 10:30 ferry, we'll wait for you at Shea Park. So there's a lot of opportunity to make it a cultural destination as the gateway for our community, and to create a name for our town, much like you would at Stratford-on-Avon over by Niagara, where people are now coming to our town because they've heard about the historical things that we have preserved. And of course, the Shea House, that's exactly what we are in the midst of doing. And the AHA is a part of that from our funding. Are there any concerns that pop into your head as, our community representatives, things that concern you. I'm here for the hard questions now.
Well, I think it's a good idea, but I don't think anything needs to be decided at the present time. I think that would be a good place to put the AHA.
I love the concept.
I particularly like when I first saw the concept, it's kind of sitting there all on its own and didn't sit right, but now in the context of developing an entire theme in the park, it's exciting to see the History Museum and Parks and Rec talking about futures, to improve the park and the city. So that's great.
Thank you.
Concerns don't jump to mind.
Yeah.
The next step, obviously, will be to flesh out the concepts a little bit more and come back with some, we could do it this way, we could do it that way.
Okay.
But water and boats and Ephraim Shea, it sounds like it has great potential.
Yeah, it all makes sense, we're gonna be his part.
And it was strategic to not go too far before we spoke to you. We did not put a walk-up ramp, we did not put our display panels. We have ideas, but this was very helpful to keep us moving in that direction, and we will, with your graces, we will keep moving forward.
Good. Well done, and thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So, one question about the restoration, are you welding it back together, or are you gonna rivet it like the old style?
No, the Historical Society has decided for welded construction, only because riveting is much more time consuming, and they have a limited budget on what they can put into it. So it's all being welded back together.
All right. That would probably be more durable also for the elements, being exposed to the outside elements over time.
Well, I'm not sure. The original construction was made out of far superior material. Number one, finest materials they could get. Number two, galvanizing, which 100 years ago was almost out of the question. So the only reason it exists today is because it was built out of a really superior material, really great workmanship, and then some pretty advanced construction techniques for the day.
Cool. All right,
So thank you. Thank you all.
full steam ahead.
All right. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Let the room clear out a little.
The presentation.
Thank you, Ron.
You're welcome.
I'll take the pointer here. Yeah. I'll post it.
Thank you.
Okay, so moving on to Summit, 372 West Summit Street, lot split denial appeal. Bill and Dan Mulder, they're here today.
Before we proceed, I talked to Jim about this earlier, just full disclosure, Dan and Bill are friends and neighbors. So I don't see a conflict of interest. I believe I can be objective, but it's if you're comfortable for a policy.
So we're all friends and neighbors in little town like Carver Springs. I'm comfortable with it. But, can you say anything down? There's no neighbor.
Okay, thank you.
Mike, you good with that?
Sorry, I am, yes.
Okay.
How about that?
Just make sure. All right, so Bill and Dana Mulder came to us, probably a couple months ago, a few months ago, in the midst of COVID, to talk about some sort of subdivision lot split on their property. They purchased the property next to them, 320 West Summit Street, as it's known as. And the city had to deny their application for the fact that the lot split would create a zoning violation. Essentially, the side setback of parcel A would not meet the minimum requirement for the zoning district that is in. So, according to our city code, appeals to lot splits, which is in the city code and not in the zoning code, has to come before city council. And there is a 4-part that I provided for you in a packet that is it's called a hardship test. And you see the 4 points above on the board there. But really, ultimately, when it comes down to the details here, the side setback must be a minimum of 8 feet or 12%. That's the rule of the zoning code. So, or 12% of the total lot width. So what we have here is a proposed lot width of 132 feet, and 12% of that is approximately 15.84 feet. So the zoning code says the greater of either 8 feet or 12% of the total lot width. So if they already have a current lot width of, I think, 10 feet, their building is 10 feet between the property line. So they're already non-conforming with that regards, and this proposed split would create a greater non-conformity by approximately 4 feet. So basically, we have to deny them the lot split, and they are now appealing that decision, which council must decide. And I'll let Jeff, do you have anything to say before Bill presents in that first one?
I think if you just take a quick second and pull up the map, so we can just look at that. I can be very brief. I think that you've covered everything in your thing here very well. So you can see their property here. We've got the existing property line right here between lot 1 and lot 2, or the 2 lots. And they're requesting to move this property line over here, taking this property from 99 feet wide to 132, and bringing this property from approximately 99 feet down to 66. And the issue that created the situation which prevented me from approving it is this portion of their structure that is out within their setback area. Their previous setback line is approximately here, about 12 feet from the property line, and moving the thing there, like as he mentioned, it moves it from approximately 12 to approximately 15.8. So that was the nature of what prevented me from being able to approve the plan that they had submitted here. And I'll let Bill go into some more detail here. What do you think?
Yeah, Bill, if you want to go in.
Thanks. I'm gonna come up here and start. I want Mike to be able to hear for sure. Hey, Mike, you there?
Bill, do you want the pointer here?
I am.
No. Okay, good. Well, hello, council. Thank you for the chance to come before you today. And we're asking for your approval on a really routine kind of thing that would normally be approved administratively, and yet we're kind of trapped by a quirk in the zoning code, and that's what brings us here today. And there are actually four things that we're working on to improve the value of our property and protect its value. First one is to buy and tear down what was a decrepit house next door. It was terrible to look at, and it was nicer for the neighborhood. So we worked very hard to be able to buy that property, and then we did tear down the house, which was in as bad a shape as everybody thought. And the idea was to do a couple things from that. One was to make the lot that our house is on wider and bigger and a better fit actually for the house. Two, to create that smaller lot on the corner would be very saleable, and it would be more affordable for people if the time came to ever sell it. And then the third thing would be to consider expanding or replacing a garage that's on the property. So there's a 4-point kind of a thing that we've been working. We accomplished the first one, which was buying the house. And so that's what that's about. And Victor, you did some good research on the origin of this mysterious 12% rule. And that had been puzzling all of us about, why was that there? And it seemed so obscure. And so Victor's good research found out that it was to try to limit Bigfoot houses in the city so that it reduced the amount of footprint that a house could take up in each of the zoning codes. And it also tried to prevent crowding. And so that was very helpful. And in fact,
That's the ordinance, yeah.
yeah, can you scroll down just a little bit more? It's really interesting. It's maybe one more.
Is this one right here? It's included an increase in.
Yeah, there's one part where it says it is related specifically to new construction, which is the hitch here. It could make sense for new construction.
Next paragraph down.
Yeah, next paragraph.
The ordinance will limit some of the scale on both.
Now, I want to say specifically on new construction.
Oh, that's where it's, okay, this one right here.
Yeah. Actually, in the second,
One above, I think.
Paragraph up above it, the third sentence.
yeah, third line. Over to your- There you go, yeah.
Yeah, no, it's also up there.
So it's supposed to limit the scale and bulk of new residential structures. So what's weird is this is an unintended consequence of the way this was written, is that here we are trying to reduce the footprint percentage on the property, and the ordinance that, is trying to encourage the same thing as preventing it. So that's a weird anomaly. And so that's the main point. And thanks to those who have researched this, really appreciate it. And we've gotten great support from a number of neighbors on this. Everyone who looks at it says, guys, that makes a lot of sense. Don't understand why you can't just do it, but we know why. And Victor, I am ready to address the 4 tests if you want to do that.
Well, yeah, let me just run through them. I know you guys know really quickly for everyone to know what they are, who doesn't think are present in the crowd. The 4-point test is what you see on the board here on the screen. First, there has to be, there must be something special about the property that any strict application of the law or the rules would deprive the applicants from reasonably using their property. So that's the first part of the test is by not allowing this split, are we depriving the applicant reasonable use of their property? The second part is that the variance that they're requesting is necessary for them to enjoy a substantial property right. The third one is it will not be detrimental to public welfare or injurious to the neighbors or other property owners nearby. And as Bill mentioned, he had several property owners submit letters. And then finally, that the variance will further the planning objectives and development policies of the city. So those are the 4 tests, 4 aspects of the test. And if council has to agree that they meet all 4 of those aspects in order to approve the variance. If they meet 3 out of the 4, that doesn't do it. They have to meet all 4. So it's up to the applicant here to convince council how he meets all 4 of those parts of the test. And I'll let him go, and then you guys probably read my response, but I'll also just briefly summarize my response. So,
Okay, are we ready for test 1? Test 1 is reasonable use of the land. And so we've got 3 main points here. It is reasonable use of the land to make the lot where our house is larger. And it is reasonable use to create a nice smaller lot that could be more easily sold if and when the time comes in the future. And it is reasonable use to be able to expand or to replace a detached garage. So those are 3 reasonable uses, I think you'd agree. And we're prevented from doing any of those things by the ordinance the way it stands right now. Test 2. This is necessary to preserve a substantial property right. And we've said we need the ability to property in the most efficient and highest value manner. And Victor suggests a test of whether or not we might actually lose money if this variance isn't granted. And I can tell you for what we had to pay for the lot and then the work we've had to put into it to tear down the house and regrade it and everything, we're definitely in a losing position so far. And but it's something that we wanted to do. And based on the fact that what a lot would sell for in the city, a vacant lot, and what we have invested in it, we're definitely in a losing position. We think we can modify that and improve that position if we could do this property split. So I really appreciate your support on that. In terms of the public welfare, Victor agreed in his analysis that there are no change in use, no additional noise, no concerns from the neighbors whatsoever. Strong support actually from 9 people who wrote letters. And then the variance will further the planning objectives of the city. So making the lot bigger actually reduces the footprint of buildings on the bigger lot, and there is no footprint on the lot. So it's directly in line with the objective of the zoning. Actually, calculated today with the lot coverage maximum and the zoning code is 40%. So this thing says we can't go over 40% lot coverage. And today we're at 16.16%, so not even close to the danger zone. And it actually goes down to 12% with the proposed expansion. So in summary, We are deprived of reasonable use of the land unless we can get this reversed. And we need your help to preserve our substantial part of our property rights. Neighbors in the neighborhood is in full support, and we're in compliance with the zoning objectives of the city. So I guess for support that undo this crazy unintended consequence of a very, very minor zoning aspect. Thank you. Can I answer anything for you at this point?
I can go.
Can I ask a quick question?
Well, let me go through first. Or was-
Well, Bill, if you don't mind, I just wanted to touch on number one there briefly. You covered the second half of that requirement, which is the reasonable use. But to make sure that we cover our bases, part of that also is that there are special circumstances or conditions affecting the property that are preventing the reasonable use. So can you touch on that?
Yeah, exactly. Special circumstances are the crazy zoning code, the way it's written, and the fact that it's been applied after the fact, not to a new construction, not to a remodel, but to a lot split.
I'll go, thank you, Bill. I'll go through very briefly my analysis. It's quite lengthy, but it was to get to a few points here. First, I'll start with the easy ones, and that is, obviously, we've got 9 letters from neighbors, not just 9 people, but 9 households. So for point 3 of the test, saying that it would not affect their neighbors, rights or interests in the property. So by them doing this lot split, no one is concerned that it will negatively harm their property or their property values. The 4th part of the test regarding the planning goals, we're going to talk about this at the planning commission. We even have a lot of conflicting planning goals, that call for, more denser, more affordable housing, more smaller lots, and then some parts call for more bigger lots, more big. So I really don't think we can find a reason to say that what he's asking to do or the others are asking to do is, doesn't meet this part of the test. So I think parts 3 and 4 of the test are easily passed. Part 2, the second part, I think a case could be made. I mean, substantial property rights, the courts have, Michigan Court of Appeals has said is, include the right to use a property without loss of value, the right to access the property, covenants or building restrictions that run with the land, riparian rights, et cetera, et cetera. So I feel like based on the court's, opinion, they talk about the right to use a property without loss of value. Basically, the question I would say is if the Mulders weren't going to go ahead with this property split, or if they didn't buy the property next to them, would they have lost value on their property if they resell it? That's a question that I don't know. We can know the answer to until they sell it. But you can extend that questioning to say, what about for them to gain the highest maximum value they want from the property? I think this could be a toss-up, a substantial right question. I don't think that's what this test is going to hinge on, where approval by council will hinge on. I really think it's the first part, which is reasonable use. Are they being deprived of using the property and reasonable use of the land? And as Jeff also pointed out, are there special circumstances of the property that are preventing that? So as you probably saw in my research, what is meant by reasonable use, there really hasn't been a good definition by the courts of it. And that's really all we have to work with. I know council hasn't seen this often. We don't see variances that often in front of the city. So fortunately, you guys are putting the test of using a definition of reasonable use that might be applied forward to any other variances that come before the council. One question, I put some questions in there just for council to consider, not necessarily mean anything, but the question for the Mulders would be, are they currently not able to use their land in a reasonable manner? I think that's kind of what the question is getting at. So without this request, do they not have, can they not use their land reasonably? The question for council is if they're not granted this lot split, would they be deprived of a reasonable use of their land? And so I think that's what this is going to hinge on, in my opinion, on analysis. Again, from our staff perspective, it's such a small, it's really not a huge deal when you go from 12 feet to 15 feet. That's not the point. The point is we have this variance test for this lot split procedure, and they didn't meet the lot split requirements. It was a non-conforming use, so they have to run through this test. And really, it's really relatively a minor issue, but it is the variance test that is there. So now I think it hinges on this first part, the special circumstances of the land, to prevent them from using their land reasonably. And I don't know, Bill, if you want to follow up with anything that I just said, but that's what I believe the test.
Great, yeah, those are the points that I made about, it's a reasonable use of the land to have a bigger lot for your house, if you can do that. 2, to make a nice lot to be sold, and 3, to position a new structure in a way that doesn't hurt your neighbors and is the most beneficial for the property. Those are all reasonable uses, and we are deprived of it by this micro aspect of the zoning code. Which brings us here, taking your time.
Well, I don't see a problem with it personally.
Does any of you guys, have any of you guys walked a lot?
Yeah,
Yes.
Yeah, me too. I think it's a great idea.
I mean, the problem, whenever the house that's there was built or whatever, the problem is between the neighbor, the 2 houses, it's not going into the vacant lot. Expanding out there, making a smaller lot, I don't see a problem with it. No, I don't know why we gotta make this decision on the zoning board, planning commission.
The zoning board can't, it's because it's in the city code and not the zoning code.
I personally don't have a problem with it. We're talking a couple feet. That's going to a vacant, going in a vacant direction. If it was going towards the other house, I could see maybe an issue.
No, it is. I believe the west side of the current house is in the setback in property.
Currently,
Right.
Yes.
But that's something that somebody else missed.
So that's all existing structures there.
Yeah.
The house was built 3 years before the ordinance was put into place with the 12% rules.
Yeah.
It predates the ordinance.
so it's an existing non-conformity.
Bigger.
So you're saying when the house was built, it was only 8 foot?
David, let's, the council have full comment.
We could be setting a precedent if we approve this.
Well, I think it's a case by case thing.
The only precedent would be the thought that goes into a reasonable exemption based on circumstances, which we see in the ZBA all the time. Right? The code, it's not uncommon for the code to have been implemented after, in this town, many homes don't. They just wouldn't be met.
Yeah, most of the homes in town are non-conforming. Not most, but a lot of the homes in town are
I'm
non-conforming.
sure mine is.
Right. So I would have this.
I don't have a problem with it.
As was pointed out, that this was new construction that was being looked at, I mean, it's a whole different discussion.
You know, house gets moved there and it gets shifted.
Well, definitely would be a different conversation if it was a brand new piece of property that was splitting up, but
So the intent.
looking at the plans, the way they're doing it, the way it's laid out, I agree to it.
So I would make a motion that we approve the request for the.
I'll second.
Roll call, Vic?
Yep. Mike Naturkis,
Yes,
CC Johnson,
Yes.
John Leo,
Yes.
John Cups,
Yes.
Matt Boogera.
Yeah.
Motion carried.
Thank you, council.
Just don't build a Bigfoot house.
The house is there, that's not usually.
All right, moving on to item 3D, which is chamber media COVID upgrades. And I'm calling these COVID upgrades because a lot of the issues we discovered were during the time of COVID. So it sounds like a movie. Okay, so early this year, the city, I believe, probably around January, we installed the new media upgrades to this room, television, PowerPoint, some microphones and speakers in the ceiling. The goal was to give staff, board, and commission members a better visual and audio experience for the in-room experience. But with the COVID-19 situation, we had to transition more quickly than anticipated to remote meetings. And that the system we have currently that we're using, we have poor audio quality, the telecom phone system, and not the greatest visual experience for users that are watching on YouTube. So what we called the original company that came to install this Sunrise, for the months April, May, June, they were essentially out of business, closed for business like most businesses were, so we couldn't have anyone come in to look at our system. So we were essentially 3 months closed to do any changes to the system. Once we got back opened up, things got back opened up in mid-June, we contacted Sunrise. Took them a while to get back to us, but we wanted to go with them as they were the original, they know the system. They finally came to us in late July. I believe, Andy, it was July 20th.
It was August, it was August 3, actually.
Yeah, and they said they would come back and give us a quote. They never gave us a quote to fix it. So in the meantime, we contacted 2 other companies with objectives of, one was to improve the audio and visual experience of the users in here and those watching, and also to incorporate the ability to YouTube, Zoom, telephone in through the system that we have. And so those were the 2 objectives that we had, and Andy reached out to a couple of companies, and Andy, I don't know if you want to take it from there to talk about the process.
Yeah, sure. So obviously I didn't want to recreate the wheel. So the first thing that I did, after listening to Victor almost on a daily basis, how's the media upgrades looking, and have you found anything? As Sunrise contacted you, do we owe the money? Went on down the list, but this was a daily reoccurrence, pretty much every morning, I think. So the pressure was on. So first thing I do is I look at bigger companies downstate, other companies that other municipalities have used. So the two that stood out that I know, Traverse City, Holland, Holly, and some other bigger cities downstate used was the ABI SPL and the CNM. So I contacted CNM. First thing he did, I contacted him on a Thursday, and by Saturday he was in Harbor Springs. I had an opportunity to meet with him on a Sunday. So we spent 2 hours in here. He went over some of the upgrades that it would take. And that person is John McLaughlin, and he is on the phone with us today. And then the second company I contacted was ABI SPL, and out of Holland, Michigan, and one of the managers there is Shane Moneybreak. So I asked both of those gentlemen to issue quotes. I'm not an expert on this media upgrade stuff. I know a little bit about it, but they are both on the conference call right now. I'll let John McLaughlin of CNM speak first. John, are you there, sir?
I am. However, Andy, I think we should probably hand it over to our actual CEO, who is truly like 6 levels of separation smarter than I am at all of this. And so it would be a shame for him, since he is also in the meeting, for him not to do it. And I think Matt Little, our CEO, should actually answer any questions you have.
That's fine. Council, do you have any questions for CNM? Go ahead, Matthew, if you wanna say something.
I did just want to address our initial proposal here. We've actually come up with 2 solutions that I think fit your needs. However, after seeing some of the questions as part of the agenda from residents and hearing a little bit more of what's going on and actually listening in on this particular conference call, I think we potentially have a 3rd overall solution for you, which, I believe John can have that over in just a minute here.
I've already got it in Andy's email inbox.
Oh, okay. The first proposal we had we realized a lot of an investment went into the council chamber as far as holding in-person sessions. In doing so, you've got the screen, you've got the ability to share said screen, you've got the overhead microphones, the displays, everything that you would need to make that solution work. The problem is, again, and as you addressed, we've been forced into the COVID-19 situation, which is just making it difficult to interact with the community as well as each other to get the best possible visual and audio capability for your meeting. So our first proposal actually takes and utilizes the conferencing solution that you currently have, but replacing the conferencing phone with a higher end phone that will integrate gooseneck microphones in front of each council member. And also what you get with that is a direct stream camera with encoder that will stream to your YouTube and your Facebook. If you do the integration into a website for live streaming. And as you guys know from what you've been doing to this point, things like YouTube and Facebook retain, archive all of your video minutes and meetings.
And the quality's been great.
Right, and the reasoning behind that is because the quality of the conference phone that you have and the way you currently have the 3 microphones within the chamber, those have no direct integration into your current, into number one, the free conference call number that you have, but it had real direct integration to the live streaming capability. So you're not getting the full audio. We can hear it on our end, as I'm sure you guys hear it every time you hold a meeting. After doing some additional review, we determined that, okay, we can make it so there is an additional several inputs into the first solution, which would allow a multitude of things. It would allow you to do something as simple as setting up a, like say a Nook PC or a computer that houses a Zoom meeting. So the Zoom meeting could be another input that gets live streamed out and encoded onto YouTube. The second solution that we propose, which is the Grandstream, the IPv10 solution, is an all-in-one appliance that gets housed within your network. It is a video conferencing solution, screen sharing, virtual meeting solution, as well as a conference bridge for your constituents. So what we've done is given you kind of a proposal on the lower end that meets your needs to some degree, and will give the audio quality and the video quality that you need in order to make this happen. The second part of the proposal, again, is the all-in-one, where you get your screen sharing and your video conferencing, much like a Zoom or Google Hangouts or Google Meet. But it's an in-house appliance that does all your recording, all your archiving, everything you need to do. You can push out to a website, you can push out to YouTube, Facebook, anything live, solution there. Now,
And people will still be able to call in. It's future-proof, and it's scalable.
Yeah. Correct. Now, what we also, after giving additional thoughts, and this is the proposal that I sent over to Andy, and he can share it if need be here, is, you know, we all look at things like Zoom, Google Meet, anything like that. They're a tried and true solution that does not require reinventing the wheel. In a Zoom scenario, you do what's called a Zoom room, and it's a very simple solution to get activated. Most people are familiar with Zoom. Now Zoom gives you a number to call into, just like any other conference break, so you do not have to be in an actual Zoom meeting. You would just dial into a bridge. It does archive everything, it screens everything to YouTube, Facebook, website, X, Y, and Z. The only difference is you've got a monthly recurring fee for a Zoomer, which is $50 a month.
However, the
So you got it.
the reason why we're mentioning it is because the cost is the third option down the center. It's within your grant number, and for a small residual amount, keeps it eminently affordable, and also perhaps allows you to save a little money so that you can apply it to other areas of infrastructure where you might also want to, do some upkeep.
But what we do want to reiterate to you is that the first solution is scalable via piecemealing certain things together, i.e. adding in a PC that has Zoom on there, anything like that. The great thing about an appliance-based solution or a Zoom room solution is you can initiate that from anywhere. You technically do not even have to have anybody go into the console area. So as long as you can get into it, it's set up properly for access, we can initiate everything from wherever, and anybody can get into that solution, share their screen, video chat, conference call, everything.
Which is also fairly useful because some of the members of your community, we are led to believe, live far flung across the world. So that is also something that should impress upon them that you're taking, Harbor Springs forward to the future. It's strongly reflective of an ideal that, you guys are going to the 21st century. You're going to be future-proof. You're going to have a platform that will also carry you forward to the next level of technology in a few years.
Okay, I have a question. Twice now you said that the solution is future. Can you give us a little more detail on that?
I would say it's because it's an appliance-based driven solution that's already including the video conferencing aspect of it, the screen sharing, and the ability to move forward. It's scalable in essence. So, if you say right now, because we don't have a direct count of how many community members ever really join into the call, we're looking at, the capability. So you realize, okay, we're maxed out our ability here. Now we can move forward. We can scale up. We can future-proof the amount of residents that can get in. And also, as new and more exciting features come to these kind of platforms, you get those updates at each point.
So is there a user limit on any of the proposals you've made?
Well, you're going to get, on a Zoom room, you're going to get, and again, this is the third proposal that I don't think Andy has shared yet with everybody.
Oh, we have, it's on the screen.
It just got handed out, yeah.
Okay, so that one has a current, I think, 150 user limit at the current state. So then with that, you just move up in scale.
Okay.
150 is quite a bit. It does not sound like you've got that. You have that many people who currently attend.
I would say that's atypical.
That's what, I'm sorry?
That's atypical. We usually do not have anywhere near that.
Okay. Yeah, you can actually get, so that's the included with the basic participants. And you can get up to as many as 500.
Okay, so that was
Okay,
that
so-
question.
So you're way up there. The IPv10 solution that you would have seen from us, which is the appliance-driven one.
Right.
That one is also, that one's got a 300 user limit built into it.
Either one of those would fit
So-
our needs.
It'd be sufficient.
Yeah.
Now, what you do get with Zoom and what you get with the IPv10 are upgrades, security patches, everything being applied as it needs to be. Whereas the first proposal, which again is kind of a piecemeal solution, we can add additional cameras to it. We can add additional input devices to it. It is not geared and designed for presentation in a virtual environment. It's more geared towards, we're broadcasting something and we have our ability to call in, listen, and we have our ability to view online. So it is not meant to be a full presentation system.
Okay. We do not have a dedicated in-house IT person, someone who's really knowledgeable with these systems. Which one of these solutions is going to present an easier operator environment for City Hall staff?
From the aspect of being able to access it from anywhere, be able to do what you need to do, the Zoom solution is going to be the Zoom room solution is going to be the solution that you would want to go with. Now, again, there is a small monthly, yes.
Okay,
And
so
there is a small recurring monthly fee, which at any point in time, you can do what you need to. Now, mind you, the Zoom room solution uses brand name technology. So it's not like the camera or the control console or the audio portion of it is locked into use with Zoom only. So you can take that and move it to different solutions if you ever so choose.
Are there any reoccurring costs for tech support and training?
No recurring costs for training. Technical support, obviously, if we've got to do any type of break fix scenario outside of warranty period, that's really it. Most everything is done via patches and updates that automatically roll out. So as far as that goes. Now, one way to mitigate cost on any repair or any troubleshooting that might happen is to make sure that there is remote access capability for us as a technical vendor.
And the warranty that you're quoting is what?
Everything, so the IPv10 comes with a 3-year hardware warranty. And the Zoom Room solution comes with a 2-year hardware warranty, but it is built off the Zoom backbone, which means the software that drives it is constantly being monitored and updated.
One question, what if Zoom is no longer a thing in 5 or 10 years? How would that affect the equipment we have?
Again, with the hardware itself, it's not tied directly to Zoom. These are brand name manufactured products that are recommended to be integrated with the Zoom solution. Now, mind you, this exact same setup can be integrated with Google Meet, can be integrated with many different screen sharing virtual meeting platforms. And if you really look at it from a technology standpoint, a camera that looks fantastic today, in 2 years, we could be looking at it and go, wow, what did we put in? What are we doing here? Or the technology is just moving. So the 5 to 10 year aspect, if Zoom goes away, you can take that hardware and move it to a different platform.
Thank you.
So your initial investment will not be dissuaded by an issue with.
Appreciate that. Thank you. Andy, if you want to pass it on to AVI.
Yeah, so thank you, Matthew. Appreciate that. Thank you, John.
Thank you, guys.
So,
Thank you very much for having
Thank you very much. Next on the line is AVI SPL, Shane Moneybreak. He's gonna give the council his presentation. Are you with us,
Good
Shane?
evening, everybody. Yeah, I am here.
Thank you,
Good
Shane.
evening. Thank you, Andy. Yeah, a little quick background, AVI SPL. We're a global technology provider. Our wheelhouse is teleconferencing and video conferencing. That's really what we do. These two proposals that we put together for you guys, similar to the previous vendor, we kind of did a isolated system that will allow you to address your concerns today. And then we took and made it into a complete integrated system to provide you maximum flexibility for the future. That first system, if you guys got it pulled up there, I'm going to just kind of run through the parts and pieces of all these and what they do and how they integrate together. The isolated system, let's call it for lack of better terms, but it is a completely isolated system because what we're providing is full commercial professional equipment. It is very hard to integrate it with consumer client equipment. So we want to keep those separated. Really, the idea behind keeping those separated is voice playback quality. Our particular systems that we're presenting in both categories here are going to be powered by what we call in our industry a DSP. And that DSP is going to take care of all your speech problems that you have. With that, you're going to get auto echo canceling, which is going to help you in the video conferencing world. You're going to need that to prevent any kind of feedback issues, any kind of talk over issues. And there's always going to be artifacts left behind in your speech. You probably hear it a lot from digital reproduction, just stuttering and all kinds of just weird artifacts that come across on your video conferencing side. These two folks both incorporate that DSP that will clear up all those feedback issues. With that first system, what we're providing here is going to eliminate your conferencing phone that you guys are currently using altogether. So we're going to put that into a professional device, which is going to incorporate a VoIP line and or a POTS line. I don't truthfully know exactly what you're using up there at the moment, but it doesn't matter because we can use either or. We're going to install in the ceiling two multi-element microphones that will pick up the room beautifully. Understand that both these systems can be virtually demoed. We can take you into a virtual demo room of both manufacturers here, and you can listen to how they actually react in certain environments. You'll get a little dial pad with the first one to dial out call. You'll still have that option to using this as a teleconferencing room. I know that on your list of concerns, you want to get away from the video or the teleconferencing altogether. That it's always going to need to be there, in my opinion. You're always going to have someone on the road that has to call in. So this gives you the option. It's there. You have an option to always utilize that, but it also incorporates into your video item as well. You have two microphones. Probably what we put them in either corner of how you kind of got that set up in a U shape. Put them in the corner. Each one of those comes with 3 elements. So think of it as 6 microphones all together working as one. It has what we call beam tracking within those. So it's going to pick up mainly on the person speaking all the time. It's just always working in the background. It's going to redirect the energy towards the person speaking. We're going to put in a full CCTV camera. We'll probably mount that, we're going to say probably head height. We'll get away from some of those concerns of maybe people having shorts on or wearing sandals or things like that. We'll try and crop that image as best we can to get rid of those pictures, give you a more professional quality camera view. The streaming device that we're going to propose is a Pearl Mini, and we can put in, we can add content in there. We can do picture-in-picture so you can, we can develop kind of a shot that you guys would like to see going streaming out to the outside world ahead of time. We'll work with you on how to develop that and what that looks like. That also has a preview monitor on it, kind of built into that device, which is nice. So you'll know what that shot is ahead of time. It's not, just guessing that we got the best camera shot. You'll know exactly what that's going to look like going out to the outside world. There's just a start and stop function on here. It's a touch screen that's built into the fan. So you'll be able to stop your meeting right from there. fairly simple. It's scalable to however we want to get it look, but realize that we're still going to be utilizing the current system for your internal playback device. So that will do your internal videos within the space itself. We can incorporate what we're going to call like a voice list within our system. So when the general public does come back into that room, we can use that as a voice list so everybody can hear properly. But it sounds like that's what you already have, so we don't want to, conflict with what you currently have. You'll still be utilizing the control for control that you have on the wall there or by the kitchenette area to turn on your devices, however that works, maybe lower the screen and everything like that. So that'll all stay functional. We're really kind of building on a professional commercial grade video and teleconference. I want to make that clear that they're not going to work fully together. Reason is I had a hard time in taking in that audio and reproducing a professional quality meeting on the far end. The second system is more of a, we're going to revamp what you have. The reason behind that is now we're going to take it to a different level of, we want to give you maximum flexibility for the future on the whole platform. So the QFC side actually has a control processor built into it. So control will now come from this machine. It'll control all aspects of your meeting, start and stop your streaming. It'll start and stop. If you choose whatever platform you guys choose in the future, this will control basically the best way to say it. QSC is Zoom certified. They're working on Teams certified, Google Hangouts. It works with anybody out there if you choose to change platforms throughout, just trying to find the best fit for you guys. We are a Zoom certified dealer as well, so we can help guide you through your licensing. But usually municipalities, government, they tend to get a pretty good deal, and I'm already working in that vicinity with Zoom. They have salespeople kind of placed throughout that area already on the Zoom side, so I'd be happy to put you in touch with them in order to get a license going and at least try it. They'll give you a trial. I would recommend that. They'll give you a 2-month trial, host a couple meetings, maybe some closed circuit meetings, see how it works for you guys first. This particular system can be controlled via iPad, Android, whatever you want to do. Have kind of a remote touch panel at, let's say, the clerk's desk if they want to start stopping meetings, anything like that. Mute the mics, those types of things, that all is available. But we'll also have a small touch screen filling the void of where the current one is. That will do the same functionality. It's just a little bit smaller, about 5.5 inches. Again, we're going to use 2 elements. These are tri-element mics again. Again, these ones can be demoed. We'll swap out the current receiver, the dining receiver, with professional DSP and amplifier. We're going to want to put probably all these speakers onto a 70-volt system. It's easier to control it, and we can kind of dial everything in if we stay within the same lines of manufacturers. Comes with presets already in it. We can get some best quality that's in. Again, we have a PTZ camera. We'll be able to set up presets with that. However you want the room set up, if you're going to use it for different functions, we can have a separate preset for that already set up ahead of time. But if we like the shot of, hey, this is a council meeting shot, that's preset 1. Every time you go on preset 1. Pretty easy. Using the same streaming device here, which is the Epiphany. We've had a lot of luck with these. Just had no reason to stray away from them. They work perfectly on the platforms that are out there currently. Again, as mentioned before, we would. I'm going to kind of run through some of the questions so I can answer those. And we're pushing up against the time limit here. Warranty, 24/7 global help desk. We are including in this, along with all the manufacturer's warranties, which are roughly 3 years plus. We'll include a full year 24/7 support, and that will be our SLA up to Harbor Springs will be somewhere, it'll be a day. we usually try and have a 24-hour turnaround. We'll have a guy on site for the first year. That is easily expandable, however you guys want to take care of it. Say you don't have an IT person on site, you know, we can revisit back in a year if you think it's necessary, but we will always be up there fixing it for hours if something breaks. But the virtual private network also allows us to do some of this stuff remotely too, which is generally what we find with these things. Maybe something will started or stop properly, and or even down to the fact that you decide to get another monitor, and we would need to add in a button to control that monitor. We can do that remotely. So let's see here. Maybe I addressed some of those questions that were out there. Know that, I mean, with our options here, we just want to give you the maximum flexibility as conditions change, because they're going to change. The worse the better. I don't know right now, but you know, it's these particular options will allow you to grow.
All right, thank you. I don't know, council, if you have any more
Yeah.
questions for ABM.
No, that was very detailed, thank you.
Thank you, Shane, appreciate it.
All right, thank you.
So I guess the question for council is, to what extent, I guess, what are our objectives for this room? And
What are your thoughts? Well, what do you think's gonna happen when election comes and COVID goes a different direction and something new comes up?
I think this is gonna become the norm, even without COVID. I mean, the way of the future is to have more remote, and more options for people to participate. I think it helps when you have more people participating. We do have some meetings, we get only 3-4 people calling in a conference phone. Some meetings have bigger issues, we've had up to 20-25 people calling on that line. Sometimes we have 5-6 watching on YouTube, sometimes we have up to 20-25. So we do have a lot of people participating remotely, so I don't think that aspect is gonna change. So the question is, do we want to provide them, A, more professional appearance and a professional meeting and image out there, and B, do we want to make it easier for people to hear and watch, participate in the meetings? Like they both, CNN and ABI says, this system that we have works really well for what we have in-house, but it doesn't work, it's not integrated or works well for, as you see, we're operating off a laptop, small camera for live streaming, and this 2003 teleconferencing device. So yes, but then again, the only flip side of that is, of course, is the unexpected cost. We planned $15,000 when we did media upgrades, and we spent $17,000, so we stayed relatively close to it. Now this could potentially be double that cost. So that's the only, we didn't have that plan in the budget. Of course, Nick and Rick Whitaker can tell you, we've cut back on a lot of projects we were supposed to do this year. We didn't do them, so we still probably will run a little deficit this year, but I mean, $15,000, $16,000 is not going to run us huge, but again, there's an unanticipated cost. Obviously, we can't control that because of the COVID situation. And the governor's orders still allow us for remote meetings. So council members can still call in and Zoom in or YouTube in or whatever it is we'll do going forward. For the foreseeable future, we don't know how long that's going to be. So.
When we have a seasonal town, I like the idea that people who leave for the winter can still call in, still participate, still be fun. I think it's a long-term investment, accelerated.
All my fire stuff's done on Zoom now. I mean, it's,
Yeah, in the future, it's just, the more technology you get, the more chasing the dragon you do. There's always more upgrades, there's always something.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Amen, brother.
You and Alan. Upgrades forever.
There is one comment on YouTube.
what is, what's your recommendations between the two?
That's,
How do you have a chance to review them? I mean,
we did review them. For us, not being, I guess, experts in this field, we wanted them to present to you so you guys could weigh the different options. I mean, honestly, to me, they're offering pretty much very similar things in the way of services. And there's some minor differences, for example, speakers from the ceiling versus gooseneck speakers on the table. There's some minor differences there between the two proposals. You heard the same thing that we just heard here. I mean, it's relatively the same, but, there's some differences.
Well, not to put too fine a point on it, but these were two very well thought out sales pitches. And the devil is in the details of how they're gonna perform. So you're not expecting the selection of a plan and a supplier, right? You're asking for approval to go pursue this.
Either or, it could be.
Several times it was mentioned about demos, about samples, I think this requires some more due diligence. I don't feel comfortable, like you said, specifically because some of them are so similar. Now it gets down for all else being equal, it gets down to the interaction and the comfort level you feel with the supplier. And how close they'll be in warranty, there was an offer for extended warranty. That's what has to really get into the grind to make the final decision for a supplier.
We just hope soon can we double some stuff.
I guess it's a question for AVI and C&M. If you guys heard that, how soon would it be able to present some sort of demos to city staff?
We can get proof of concept up there in no time. We're very agile and adept. You tell us which system that you want, and we'll do a proof of concept. The low end solution, it's really just a matter of bringing up some things and hooking it all together. The other two solutions that we provide, I'll let Matt, answer to that as far as the timeline, but I can't see why it would take any time at all.
So I guess one question is, for me, the council is, you saw both had relatively, proposals that are relatively similar in cost as well as, and services. And what costs does council want us to proceed? There's $10,000, the first options they provided, or in the case of C&M, the third option was about $10,000, or you want to go to that $17,000, $18,000 option. If you want to see the demos first to see what those provide, but I think we also have to look at the cost as well, knowing that we don't want to go too far in one direction if the council is not feeling.
Well, that's essentially why we were offering, Matt and I were going through this, and we were looking at the information, and then it occurred to him after seeing some other of the feedback that was there, he was like, well, John, do this. And I'm like, okay. And so we threw it back and forth, and then we kicked it out to Andy's email at the start of the meeting because we knew that, once again, part of our operating philosophy, and, when it comes to things like, 24-hour turnaround on having people up there training you. We do that all over the state. We work in all 50 states, just like our fair competitor there. And we service our clients anywhere. And, one of the reasons why we asked for pretty much a access back doors so that we can work on things remotely, like anybody else would. And the only time you would need a human being out there to change anything would be for our hardware. But the whole idea there was to offer you a third way so that you could look at that and say, well, we have a grant, and the grant this fits almost perfectly with the grant, and therefore, like we said, we try to save people money so that they have money to apply on other things. The C stands for competitive. That's our operating philosophy. So, as far as providing proof of concept, you let us know what's good for you.
Thank you.
How's that?
Yeah, thank you. So I just we'll leave the council here to, I guess, just give the staff here some direction on which way you want us to go.
Victor, if I might, I'll just add one thing. Also, there's that grant there's that grant that'll mitigate the costs by about $5,000.
So we have potential, as most communities and organizations here in Northern Michigan here, for the Petoskey River Springs Community Foundation grant. We're looking to apply for some money to get up to $5,000. There might be an opportunity for a couple of those, so we could balance some costs out if we do get. That's not a guarantee that we'll get that, but we talked to them and they said it's likely.
Absolutely.
So
Part of the challenge with an investment today, we made an investment in an in-house system and then realized that was great for that, but not for this. Software is going to continue to evolve. Zoom is the mainstay today. They're competitors. There's a Microsoft product, there's Google product. It's gonna happen with Hardwick, an integrated system. A lot of people are looking at the growth in this market. A lot of people are gonna be coming up with solutions. So the higher the investment, the more obsolescence, not true obsolescence, but the more we've invested in current technology as opposed to what might come down the pipe. So with the demos, it would be easier to determine if with the lower investment, we get what we really need. And by the way, my answer to your two questions would be yes and yes. We want to provide a professional interface to the world, and yes, we want people to be able to see and hear and participate. And that's the justification. I try to arrange some demos, and that will give staff an opportunity to meet further with a good company and get it. And that's a big part of it. As we learn, we'll send it. So that's my 2 cents. As I go forward, I would look at mitigating the investment, the short-term investment, because we don't know what's gonna happen, and get some demos.
Yeah, because the technology changes so fast. You spend 17 grand this year, you might have to spend another 17 grand.
You know, a strong platform that will allow you to do Zoom or Microsoft or Google with an HD camera and better audio. I mean, that's what we need. And if that phone were not as old as it is, it would be able to integrate. So these are just necessary technology upgrades. When you find a demo with a reasonable cost that meets the ticket, come back with it. That's what we think we should do.
In the packet, I saw just getting a new conference call.
Was that CNM or ADI, Andy?
That was CNM.
Yeah. $1,000 about just for your conference call system.
I mean, because is the video part all that important? Because I don't really care what my shoes look like or what I'm wearing short. You know, do I need to be in the shop? Do we need to hire a producer? No.
Makeup.
I didn't hear that, but I think
You kept saying produce our shots.
well, he's talking about setting up a pro forma that can be used over and over again.
And I understand that. If I cared, I wouldn't come dressed like this. You know, about the shot.
More than personal appearances and dressing choices, I think it's important to be able to share. Like everything we saw today about the AHA, no one who's on YouTube was able to.
Right. No, I understand that.
For planning commission meetings, I think it's pretty critical, and we want to encourage, particularly with the review of the master plan, more participation. ZBA, yeah, I think that's critical.
That makes sense.
I would say let's have staff look into it and they get us a couple demos.
Do you want us
maybe.
to bring the demos to you, or you bring a recommendation after we go through the demo?
Yeah.
I would ask, inform us if and when the demos are gonna be had. If we're available, I'd like to come in.
Yeah,
See how it works and what it does. And again, staff, once we're done, staff is gonna have to live with it and operate it, so you should have to do it.
Well, financially speaking, if
Oh,
we go for
financially.
over $10,000, yeah.
Right.
Well, I think you'll be diligent in that, but I mean, ultimately it's gonna be what's gonna work. What's gonna be user friendly.
So I guess, Andy, then if you can coordinate with both companies to set up some demos sometimes, because our next council meeting is not till September 21st, so we definitely want to get some demos in, or the next regular scheduled.
If there was an offer for expediency, I'd take them up on it and let us know when they're gonna be.
You got anything to add, Nancy?
No, not until we get some more information of what route we want to go. And we look at funding.
Nick wants to go back to no audio, just like the good old days.
Oh, the good old days are back, the good old days, they're gone.
I believe we had some questions from there.
I just had a question as far as like, the video and what Matt was talking about. If what you show on the computer as far as her presentation, that's not affected by the cameras, right? I mean, that's all direct drive from the computer, correct?
Correct.
So as far as any presentations that are presented to the outside people, that wouldn't be affected by the quality or quantity of what camera you had here in the room.
I said, it's not true if it's projected at either TV and stuff like that.
Well, that's what I was wondering. I didn't, you know, I'm not IT savvy either, and I didn't know if the feed from the computer goes direct out there or if it goes through the camera and then out there.
Our current setup, no, but that's what we're talking about, the upgrade, it would then be more user friendly.
We're all conceding.
Right, because I think that's a crucial point, is be able to see the, you know, the presentations, the site plans, the, you know, site, you know, that needs to be seen accurately.
That is an important part of it.
Any comments on YouTube?
Rob Dowd, he makes a comment, he says, if the experience is better, more people will participate. This is a long-term solution and will promote more community involvement.
And you'll have in your packet the comments from Scott Reese, who laid out a handful of reasons for it. I think the only thing that we could do is we could, but don't need to, is the lighting. You mentioned about changing lighting, and we're not.
Well, the ELC also commented eliminate telephone call-ins.
Which I don't want to do.
We don't want that, has to be viable.
I want to maximize public, but you can still have telephone call-ins with Zoom, as mentioned earlier. There is a number of call-ins. However, we do offer just a matter of being a toll-free number, because we don't want to put any impediments for public to participate. So we give them a toll-free number through this system, so they're not charged for use with data.
Well, that's an option with all of our solutions.
All right, so I guess what we'll do is, Andy, we'll coordinate something and we'll go forward that way.
Yeah.
All right, thanks guys on the phone. Appreciate you guys coming in to present on your packages. We'll be in touch.
Thank you so much for giving us the time, and, you know, no matter what, I'm coming back to Harbor Springs to visit anyway, so.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for the opportunity.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yep, bye-bye.
All right, so I'll go really quickly to the city manager's report. Should be down here somewhere. Yep, there it is. Some updates on projects. Again, as I mentioned, the next regularly scheduled council meeting is September 21st, so 5 weeks. We do have some free exercise classes at Zorn Park during the weekdays, which have been attended by several people, so that's good. The total, this is outdated now, but the total, well, actually it's not, the total number of COVID-19 cases since March for our zip code here, which includes Little Traverse, West Traverse, up to Cross Village, is 8 confirmed cases. The county is now up at, I believe, 74. Most of those are in the Petoskey area, but we still are at 8 confirmed here total since March. So that's just in case. They just started putting those breakdowns on the health department's website by zip code, but not by a specific town. And city staff and the planning commission will be issuing surveys on master plan goals and master plan topics. So next we'll be putting those online, and we'll put some words about that in the Harbor Light as well. So we're going to encourage the public to participate, give us their opinion for the master plan process through that, because we won't be having as many in-person, obviously, meetings because of the COVID situation. So most of this can be done through electronic communication, through surveys. Some websites, social media data that I always put in there. There's a few meetings, Planning Commission, Harbor Commission. There was a ZBA meeting for a variance request that was denied, and then the DDA had a meeting that talked about some updates for ways to find funding and revenue, as well as the tree grade project and other committee updates. The DDA website is probably going to go live soon. It's made a lot of nice progress on it, so that's exciting. And then just some meetings there. One that I noted, I did go to a ribbon cutting event at Northland Self Storage just outside of Petoskey. They have a new solar panel array that they put at their storage center, and there's quite a few people from grounds work that we've been working with about using solar at our sewer authority. So we're going to rekindle that conversation and potentially solar here on this building, hopefully for next year, this fall, to get them going next year. So that's what I have. And then I did include boards and commissions info. We're still looking for a tree board member. And then
That one.
you got it, all right?
That one. John Phelps Senior has volunteered to be on the tree board.
Uh-oh.
got his chainsaw, and he's ready to go.
It's in the back of my truck.
You did explain what the tree board is about.
Sat through enough of the meetings. So, if there's no objections. From the table. It'll be a good addition. Food tree trimming. And, I'm currently in the market for something, well, I gotta reach out to Maddie Hines, see if he wants to stay on the ZBA. He may be looking for the ZBA.
Right.
Yeah.
You just let me know what you have from her.
Yeah.
We can post it to PBS too.
I don't think I have her number.
All right, we'll get that.
Yeah.
So that's all our, boards and commissions. Is there any city council new old business?
I do not.
No, I'm just, again, we can move on to the closed session if we're ready.
Yeah, older new business? Okay.
So Raymer,
Jim, could you give us some verbiage?
I can do that if, we would need a council person to move that the council meet in closed session under section 8E of the Open Meetings Act to meet with the city attorney regarding trial strategy in connection with the Freudenberger litigation on the ground that an open meeting could have a detrimental financial effect on the litigating position of the city.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, in closed session, thank you all for coming.
Thank you.
Matt, do you want Maddie Hines' phone number?
Great, Victor, you're gonna give that all?
Yeah, Mike, I'll give